While millions of people are quoting, "We were on a break for the millionth time, rewatching the same 236 episodes and treating Central Perk like a sacred pilgrimage site," there is a significant group of people who just do not get it. And according to psychology, their brains might actually process humor and social connection completely differently. Stay with me, because what I am about to tell you will completely change how you see the Friends-obsessed people in your life. Here's the thing nobody talks about. Not liking Friends does not make you humorless. It does not mean you hate fun. And it definitely does not mean you are incapable of friendship. But there is something fascinating happening in your brain that is completely different from the people who have watched the entire series 47 times. Let's start with why Friends became a cultural phenomenon in the first place. The show premiered in 1994, and it tapped into something primal in the human brain, our desperate need for belonging. For 10 seasons, it presented an idealized version of friendship that millions of people craved. Your tribe, but with better apartments and funnier problems. When someone watches Friends, their brain releases oxytocin, the same bonding hormone we talked about with sports. They are not just watching characters. Their brain is forming parasocial relationships, one-sided emotional connections with people who do not know they exist. Wild, right? Their brain literally tricks them into thinking Rachel, Ross, Monica, Chandler, Phoebe, and Joey are part of their friend group. But here is where it gets interesting. People who do not connect with Friends often have what psychologists call a high need for narrative complexity. They are not satisfied with episodic sitcom structures where problems are introduced and resolved in 22 minutes. Their brains crave serialized storytelling, moral ambiguity, and character development that actually costs something. And there is real research backing this up. A 2018 study on television preferences found that people with high openness to experience and need for cognition, that is the psychological desire to engage with complex ideas, showed significantly less interest in traditional multi-camera sitcoms. Put simply, their brains are wired to need more than laugh track prompted humor and predictable storylines. But wait, it gets weirder. Because what happens in the brain of a Friends fanatic during a rewatch is legitimately concerning. You know that warm, comfortable feeling you get from rewatching something familiar? That is your brain's reward system lighting up with dopamine, the same neurotransmitter involved in addiction. Friends fans are not just enjoying the show, they are self-medicating with nostalgia and predictability. Studies using fMRI scans show that rewatching familiar content activates the same comfort and reward centers as comfort food or returning to a childhood home. It is psychological safety. You know exactly what is going to happen. There are no surprises, no challenges, no discomfort, and for some people, that is exactly what they need. People who do not like Friends have dopamine systems that are not triggered by predictable comfort. They need novelty, surprise, and intellectual challenge, and this might actually be hardwired. Research from personality neuroscience suggests that variations in dopamine receptor density can predict whether someone prefers familiar, comforting content or novel, challenging material. Think about that. Your complete indifference to whether Ross and Rachel end up together might literally be in your DNA. But there is another layer that explains so much about the Friends divide. It comes down to humor processing. Friends relies heavily on what is called situational comedy, with exaggerated characters in mildly absurd situations, physical comedy, and catchphrases. The humor is accessible and broad, designed to appeal to the widest possible audience. People who do not find Friends funny often prefer what psychologists call incongruity resolution humor, comedy that requires holding conflicting ideas simultaneously and resolving the tension through an unexpected insight. Think dry humor, dark comedy, satire that requires cultural knowledge. Their brains are seeking cognitive surprise, not emotional comfort. A 2020 study on humor appreciation found that people who preferred complex, layered humor scored significantly higher in abstract reasoning and lower in need for social conformity. They are not laughing because everyone else is laughing. They need to be genuinely surprised by the joke's structure. Here's something that sounds contradictory, but it explains everything. Friends fans often score higher on certain social connection measures. They are practicing belonging, even if that belonging is to a fictional friend group. The show provides a template for how friendship should feel: supportive, forgiving, always available. So why don't Friends haters feel that same warm connection? It's about authenticity recognition. When you watch Friends, you are watching people whose biggest problems are whether someone ate their sandwich or said the wrong name at a wedding. For some viewers, this feels comforting. For others, it feels insultingly trivial. People who don't connect with Friends often have a low tolerance for what they perceive as artificial conflict. They recognize that these are not real problems. These are carefully constructed scenarios designed to manufacture 22 minutes of entertainment. And once you see the machinery, you cannot unsee it. A 2019 study found that people with high media literacy were significantly less likely to form parasocial relationships with fictional characters. They are too aware of the construction to surrender to the illusion. And let's be honest about something else. For some people, not liking Friends is actually a defensive response to cultural pressure. Maybe they were told they were weird for not watching it in the 90s. Maybe they felt excluded from water cooler conversations. Maybe they are pushing back against the aggressive nostalgia culture that insists everyone must love the same thing. Your indifference might have a backstory, or maybe you just find the humor dated and the characters insufferable. Both are valid. Here is the part that explains why fans and critics of Friends sometimes cannot understand each other at all. It comes down to how you experience comfort versus growth. Friends fans find comfort in familiarity. The show is like a warm blanket. The same characters, the same coffee shop, the same jokes, and the same happy endings. In an uncertain world, that predictability is genuinely therapeutic. There is nothing wrong with that. Psychological research shows that nostalgia and familiar media can reduce anxiety and increase feelings of social connection. People who do not like Friends often find that predictability is boring or even anxiety-inducing. They ask themselves why they would spend hours watching problems they know will be resolved, why they would emotionally invest in conflicts that do not matter. They need to feel like their time is being used for growth, learning, challenge. They are not wrong, but neither are Friends fans. It is just two different approaches to the human need for entertainment and emotional regulation. Researchers call this comfort viewing versus challenge viewing. Friends fans are engaging in deliberate emotional regulation through media. Friends critics prefer media that provokes, challenges, disturbs, or expands their perspective. Neither approach is superior. They are simply different strategies for navigating emotional life. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who studied optimal experience, found that flow states, those moments of complete absorption, can be achieved through countless types of content. For some, it is the familiar rhythms of a beloved sitcom. For others, it is anything that demands more cognitive effort. Here is what is really interesting. People who do not like Friends often report being more selective about their media consumption overall. They are not spending hours in passive comfort viewing. They are seeking content that challenges them, teaches them something, or presents perspectives they have not encountered. There is something quietly intentional about that. They have decided their attention is valuable, and they are allocating it carefully. Now, before the comment section explodes, I'm not saying one approach is better. but I am saying there are legitimate psychological differences, and understanding them makes the culture war over a 1990s sitcom make a lot more sense. People who do not like Friends are not emotionally stunted or incapable of nostalgia. They are just wired to seek different things from entertainment. Their humor processing is different. Their need for narrative complexity is different. Their comfort comes from challenge, not familiarity. So what does all this mean? If you do not like Friends, you are not missing out on some fundamental cultural touchstone. You are not broken because you do not find Pivot funny. You are just different. Your brain's reward system, your humor processing, your need for narrative complexity, they are all calibrated differently, and that is perfectly okay. The next time someone asks how you cannot like Friends and you genuinely could not care less, remember, you are not humorless. You are not antisocial. You are just seeking a different kind of connection, one that might, just maybe, require a little more from the people creating it. If this resonated with you, you are probably going to love why some people cannot stand small talk and what that reveals about how their brains process social interaction. Click one of these videos to find out why you communicate a little differently than the crowd.